Hey, Aaron William Freeland is here with you, and I'm coming here for the ride, wearing his proud Canada jersey. Good for him. Look at you, all proud Canadian. I just love it. Just love it. Just love it. The baseball team, things didn't work out too well, but let's get into the stories, and let's start with Jack Quinn and the Sabres beat the Leafs earlier this week.
We're going back a little bit here in time. We're going back to Saturday. Jack Quinn scored the tying goal and connected in a shootout. Alex Tuck ended the tiebreaker, and the Buffalo Sabres beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 on Saturday to rebound from their first loss since the Olympic break. Buffalo was coming off a 2-1 home loss win to Washington on Thursday that ended their 8-game winning streak. The Leafs were still hoping to find a way out of the situation that they found themselves in, but this was actually Toronto's first game that they've played since Austin Matthews' season-ending knee injury. He tore the MCL on his left knee in the 6-4 win over Anaheim on a knee-on-knee hit from Radko Gudas, which was punished by a 5-game suspension. The validity of the suspension, as well as the length of the suspension, has been called into question, mainly because Radko Gudas plays for the Anaheim Ducks, ironically enough, a team where George Parros spent 75% of his career. So, it's one of those things where it's like, are we sure he's being objective when it comes to this sort of thing? But Max Domi scored for Toronto in his 800th game, and Dakota Joshua also scored. Joseph Woll had 30 saves on the back end.
List every interaction between the player safety department and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And by that, I mean whether they're the offender or the offended. List all the ones and have a look. And I think you'll find a consistency. And that consistency is thumb on scale, baby. Thumb on scale. Let's talk to Callum Ritchie and tell me about him.
So Callum Ritchie had an early power play goal and an assist as the Islanders beat the Leafs on St. Paddy's Day. Brayden Schenn actually got his first goal since being acquired from St. Louis ahead of the trade deadline. And Emil Heineman also scored for the Islanders, who have now won 9 of their last 12 games. Ilya Sorokin made 26 saves for New York, and Matt Barzal had 3 assists. Steve Lorentz scored for Toronto. Joseph Woll had 31 saves. The Leafs are now 2-1-1. Since losing Austin Matthews for the season. This is a bit of a run for them, but it's on the heels of an ugly 0-6-2 slide that pretty much cratered their playoff hopes. Matthew Schaefer picked up an assist to move within 1 point to becoming the 4th rookie defenseman in franchise history to reach 50 in a season. He's only 18. He's looking to join Stefan Persson, who had 56 in 77-78, Denis Potvin, who had 54 in 73-74, and Vladimir Malikov, who had 52 in 1992-93. Schenn scored on the game's first power play at 4:15 of the first. Ritchie doubled New York's lead at 9:43, also with the man advantage. Toronto's penalty kill was third best in the NHL at 83.5. New York's power play was 29th at 15.9. Maple Leafs are hosting Carolina on Friday, and the Islanders will be playing Ottawa on Thursday.
Maple Leafs forward has put out a little bit of a threat to your buddy Gudas. Not a very smart move.
It didn't even really. I think it's been a little bit overblown. Well, it's not, because the dude that's making the alleged threat is tiny. But Domi said, I'm certainly not happy about it. And we play him again in a couple of weeks, which is true. March 30th, the Leafs are playing the Anaheim Ducks again. At that point, Gudas should be done his suspension. Now, I mean, obviously, and I mentioned this earlier, there has been some dissatisfaction with the whole suspension thing. And I think a lot of the problem stems from this. Anytime the Department of Player Safety has tried to give a player more than 6 games, the NHLPA has stepped in, and they've been at loggerheads about the whole event and the whole suspension. Now, not to be confused here, there's a difference. There's terminology that player safety uses. One is in person, and the other is in phone. All of it is done over Zoom. So technically speaking, an in-person is an in-phone is an in-person sort of thing. It's just they're using the terms in-person and by phone to sort of tip their hand as to how many potential games that person could get. It's just if they do an in-person hearing, quote unquote, in person, the NHLPA is more likely to appeal as opposed to doing it by phone, which guarantees a shorter suspension just by the very nature.
And to activate an appropriate defense.
Exactly.
Right? You want to do that too. This is the thing that unfortunately in society is one of the cruel realities of society. Especially nowadays, there's lots of paranoia about things, and sometimes one has to use a very sharp wit or real critical thinking and fact checking and all that stuff. So I'll repeat again. Just line up all the incidents of when the Leafs were involved in being judged by the player safety and anybody who's done anything against them. And if you were able to, and I wish the media had the audacity, and I'll call it audacity because when it comes to the National Hockey League would look at it as audacity. For example, how dare you show videos of all the incidents that the Leafs were involved in and show where they were the victim or when they were the perpetrator, watch the acts and watch the punishment, and then separate them side by side. And you'll understand what I'm saying. And I'll use one example we used recently, and that is Matthew Nyes got a 4-game suspension for an act that he performed that did not take a player out of the game. I don't think it took him out of the game. He at all. I think the player continued playing. He got a 4-game suspension. I think it was for an elbow or something like that to the head, wasn't it? Or something like that, a shoulder to the head, whatever it was, against the boards. It was called boarding, if I remember correctly. I am having difficulty being specific. But my point is, taking out a knee and that, the difference is 1 game. 1 game difference.
And,
to a guy, let me finish. I'm sorry. I passed too slowly. I went too slowly. To a guy who'd never done anything wrong before compared to a guy that had a list this long. 1 game difference for those two things. I'll just use that one. And I promise you, ladies and germs, if you look into every incident where the Leafs have been involved, positive or negatively, on the good side or the bad side, you will find a consistent leaning of the thumb against the Maple Leafs. Am I a homer? No, I'm just not blind.
Yeah, and honestly, it gets really, really frustrating, but we're not going to get a review of it until somebody dies. That's the long and the short of it. And Peros put out a video to saying, we have a whole committee that works with me on this sort of thing. And the guys with a lot of experience.
It's not me.
Yeah, basically, he's trying to deflect, and it's like, come on, buddy, we know
you're in charge. The buck stops at your desk, so and he even kind of lied in that thing. If I remember correctly, the words he used were, he almost double spoke because he was talking about injuries don't matter. And we knew he had an injury right away, which is BS because nobody knew his condition until the swelling went down and they could do an MRI. So he lied. And that tells you right there that guy has something to hide. End of story. And in my book, I'm not either what's his name, Inspector Clouseau or Sherlock Holmes or the Hardy Boys. I'm neither of those people. But heck, some facts line up too easily to not know how they line up.
When your dog has the toilet seat around its head, it's been drinking out of the toilet. It's basically what it boils down.
It's a pretty safe assumption, right?
Yeah.
And when the kid's got cookie all over his face and the jar's broken on the floor, you have an indication so you can connect the dots. Or when you come home, and I'm sure both of us have experienced this in life, when you come home and that pillow that used to be on the couch is now spread out along the floor and the dog has some fur in his mouth. You have an idea what happened.
Maybe.
All right. I think we've had enough fun with that one. Let's go to the WNBA.
So the good news is, and there was some concern about this leading up to the season, the WNBA now actually has an agreement in principle for their upcoming season. The good news is that it's going to see a new salary cap start at $7 million and an average revenue share of nearly 20%, with salaries falling between 600, right around the 600,000 range, with the minimum just above 300. Now, this $7 million salary cap is an increase from the original 1.5 that it was at in the last CBA. Because they now have an agreement in principle, the league has said that the 2026 WNBA draft of April 13th will not be affected, and training camps are still going to open April 19th before the season begins on May 8th. That means that the Toronto Temple can play their inaugural game. 2 expansion drafts, the other one for the Portland Fire, must take place. The free agency period still has to be set, and an unprecedented number of free agents, 80% of the league, now must sign new contracts. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but the hope is that they'll be good to go come May.
Talk to me about the World Baseball Classic and how it impacts on Venezuela.
This was absolutely huge. For Eugenio Suarez in Venezuela, the WBC brings a lot of emotion, a lot of tears. 10:36 local time. Eugenio Suarez, with the game tied at 2 and a runner on second, hit a poorly located Garrett Whitlock changeup into the left center field gap, finding a clean patch of grass. Javier Sonoya trotted home from second. It was massive for them. The final strikeout was absolutely dynamite. I'm glad to see them, win it. In their most recent WBC in 2023, they lost to Team USA. Venezuela was just 6 outs from the biggest win in their history. Instead, Trey Turner clobbered an 8th inning grand slam for an instant comeback for Team USA.
But that was in the quarterfinals, right? That year, I think.
Yeah,
right.
That was the one. For a country that had their president kidnapped and had their ships bombed by the United States, it was nice to see them win on American soil to defeat America at America's pastime, to become the greatest American team of American baseball that ever America.
So the trouble is most of those guys can't run and hide in Venezuela. They play baseball in the United States and Canada.
That's the hardest part, right? So,
well, listen, good for them, and I can't think
100%.
of the only thing better would have been if Italy had done it. Only because I got this inside thing about that. So it's old soccer pain. It would have been nice to see Italy make it to the world for us semi-Italians. In other words, family, yes, me, no, born here.
A lot of it coming out would have been, well, it was Team America Light anyways, as opposed to, Team Israel would have also been Team America Light, and it's just one of those, get over yourself.
It's all right. It's just as good, though. Venezuela winning, good for them, a country that really is enjoying this moment. I'm telling you, they're going to be enjoying this moment. And I don't know if the players will be going back there or even have time to go to Venezuela. So I think maybe their fans and their countrymen in Venezuela won't get the chance to cheer them on, because they'll be going on to work for their Major League Baseball teams that most of them have to play with. Let's talk about the World Cup of Hockey. It's been announced, and we've got some locations. Tell us all about it, Aaron.
So Edmonton, Calgary, and Prague have been selected as the host cities for the next edition of the World Cup of Hockey in 2028. The choice to include 2 Canadian cities and one European city, in light of America becoming the home of all hockey by winning sledge hockey and men's and women's Olympic gold and world championships and the juniors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This decision to have it not in America has confused some folks, but I personally think it's a well-struck balance. Prague is centrally located in Europe. Calgary and Edmonton both have the facilities for the World Cup of Hockey in 2028. Calgary's new arena should be done by then as well, which means big things for them. They'll have a chance to premiere it. Now, the official bidding process began back in June with formal proposals from 25 locations. and then, narrowing down the field in September. Edmonton was one of the sites for the pandemic bubbles used to hold the playoffs in 2020. So we know that there's infrastructure around there to do that sort of thing. And seeing as the last World Cup of hockey was 2016, with Team Some of Europe playing Team Canada for the finals, we'll have to see if they can do this one even better.
Let's talk about F1.
So, interesting start to the season. Mercedes had 1 and 2 in the sprint race on the Saturday, followed up by Kimi Antonelli as the second youngest, I believe, winner at 19 years, 202 days to win a Grand Prix, closely followed by George Russell, and Lewis Hamilton managed to finish third, so that's a good thing. It was an interesting start, mainly because they lost 4 cars on the reconnaissance lap, not even on the warm-up lap. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were unable to participate because, for some reason, their Mercedes power plants were not talking with their McLaren software. Norris was stuck waiting in his car in McLaren's garage before time ran out for him to join the grid. And Oscar Piastri had to be withdrawn from the grid minutes before the start with what McLaren termed separate electrical problems with their Mercedes supplied power unit. This is the first time in Norris's 8-season F1 career that he's missed a race, and Piastri's second missed race in a row after he crashed out on his way to the grid at his home race in Australia last week at the start of the season. They're not the only ones suffering from reliability concerns either. Aston Martin has had significant amounts of problems with its Honda power unit, including vibrations that are so bad it's making Lance Stroll's and Fernando Alonso's hands numb. Is how it's been put. So, if you can't feel your hands, it's very hard to race. So this is a genuine concern. The new rules have proved interesting. Put it that way.
Excellent. Another story on F1.
We've actually covered off both of them.
Okay.
I rolled them into one for expediency's sake, so we could jump on
no
to
worries,
Caulfield.
No worries. Yep, go to Caulfield.
He's now scored 40 goals. He scored his 39th goal of the season on Sunday against the Anaheim Ducks. He's the first player to score 40 goals in a season since Vincent Damphus did it back in 93-94. Ex-Maple Leafs legend Vincent Damphus. Back when seasons had 84 games, which they're going back to next season. Now, it's awesome. I think it's a surprise, really, that it's taken so long for them to do that, but it's a good thing for them to actually be able to do that. And with Caulfield coming off the Olympics that he did, making sure that he's now got himself in the Habs record books too is quite awesome for him.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Sens.
So the Sens managed to take a chunk out of the Sharks 7-4 to keep their playoff hopes alive. They completed a back-to-back sweep over Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks in front of 18,764 at the Canadian Tire Center, with a 2-0 win over the Ducks on Saturday, and this one against San Jose. The Senators are now within 3 points of the Detroit Red Wings and Boston Bruins for the final 2 playoff spots in the East, with 16 games left. So they're hanging on, but just by a thread.
Absolutely. Jets and Predators.
Predators unfortunately edged out the Jets in this one. Took them until the shootout to do it, but Ryan O'Reilly scored the lone goal in the shootout to lift the Preds to a win at Canada Life Center on Tuesday night. He beat Hellebuyck to the glove side in the first round of the shootout. Predators netminder UC Saros secured the win by stopping Velarde, Scheifele, and Connor in quick succession. Matthew Wood, Philip Forsberg, and Eric Halla scored in regulation for Nashville. Jonathan Marchessault chipped in with 2 assists. Jonathan Taves forced overtime for Winnipeg, tying the game at 18:59 of the third period.
And talk to me about the Flames, and they went down to the Red Wings.
Yeah, they went down 5-2. They went down hard. Kane has 504 goals, career goals. He's trailing Mike Modano, Keith Tkachuk, and Jeremy Roenick. This is his 19th season, and he's still playing pretty well. He entered the night tied with Joey Mullen with 502 goals. Earlier this season, Kane passed Modano to become the highest scoring American-born player in NHL history. Kane now has 1,383 points in 1,355 games.
That says a lot. It's been a long time since Modano retired. And that's going to change in the next few years. I don't know how long Kane's going to hold that record, but I think it's going to be shorter than what he waited to do it after Modano.
Oh, for sure.
Talk to me about the Oilers.
So Max Jones and Zach Hyman scored third period goals. Adam Henrique had a pair of assists, and the Oilers managed to rally without Leon Draisaitl for a 5-3 win over the San Jose Sharks last night. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor Murphy, and Vasily Podkolzin also scored for the Oilers, who are now 5-2-1 in March and are in a tie with Anaheim atop the Pacific Division. Took them a while to get there, but they're almost there. Draisaitl, who was fourth in league scoring, was announced as out. He's expected to miss the remainder of the season with a lower body injury. This is the sort of thing that seems to happen a lot later in the season, star players going down. It's a little more significant for the Oilers because they're expected to make the playoffs, whereas the Leafs aren't. So Matthews will have plenty of time to rest up. Meanwhile, Draisaitl will be focusing on returning so he can help Edmonton in the stretch run.
Sometimes you see things that make you call BS, and sometimes you can't resist claiming BS. This happened at the Olympic Hall of Fame, and they're answering now because of a comment by Hughes.
Yeah, so, after Team USA won gold after a 46-year drought in men's hockey, not to be confused with the awesome success of the women's team, who so far eclipsed the men in medal counts and performance overall, Jack Hughes says he wants the puck. However, the Hockey Hall of Fame here in Toronto has responded saying, well, it's not his puck. It was never his puck. He didn't buy the puck. He didn't bring the puck. We received the puck from the International Ice Hockey Federation and the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Committee. So he doesn't get to have the puck. I think it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say the sad thing about it is if it was a less important puck, he'd get to keep it. But it is the most significant puck of the event at the Olympics, the men's hockey championship. It is the most significant puck of the whole event. So it ends up being something that, is held in the Hall of Fame for that reason. And that's too bad. I don't know he does have the stick, right? I don't think they took the stick from him.
Nope.
That he used to score the goal.
I know that Hillary Knight's gloves and stick,
there it
helmet
is,
and jersey are in there. But they've only got his puck. So, there's a pretty decent donation process, a rigorous donation process that has to be gone through. Sidney Crosby's 2010 golden goal is there. He's never asked for the puck. They asked him about it. He said, yeah, no, I thought it was a great honor. I thought it was great that we won. This to me just seems like, well, I want the puck for me because I want it on my trophy case and I want to give it to my dad because
I don't want to sound like I'm an American basher. But unfortunately, the obnoxious nature of the I'm better than you and this attitude that the American players had before the Olympics, the Americans had during the Olympics and after the Olympics is all consistent with a problem with ego. And, to not be satisfied. And it's the American, let me be clear about this, because this is what it's all about. It's not Americans. It's American men. American women are not like American men. American women don't have the same kind of ego American men do because American women are still second-class citizens in America. They're still doing it. And just to tread very softly on a bill that the Americans are trying to pass, that the Republicans are trying to pass, it is a bill where if a woman takes on a man's name and then divorces him, she has to make sure she has all the right information, birth certificate, all the kind of stuff that you got to have so that she can change the name back to her original name if that's what she wants to do. And if she doesn't have the appropriate information, she can't change her name back, and she's in limbo where she can't vote. And there are other things. And there are other things like that in that specific bill.
Here's the other thing I was just going to mention about that too.
Go ahead.
If she changes her name to her husband's name, that no longer matches the name on her birth certificate, therefore she is ineligible to vote.
Right. And
So,
the only way that she can vote, and this is why they're calling it a poll tax, and the reason the term poll tax refers to you have to buy your right to vote, which Americans don't want to do that. At least the ones that want a free and fair election, right? They don't want people to have to pay to vote, right? And that's what a poll tax is. And one of the shortcuts is if you can get a passport with your name on it, then you're secure in voting. And only 50% of Americans have a passport. And so that means half the nation would not have the right to vote if they don't have a passport. So when I say the men in the US are different than the men in Canada, you and I got to tread carefully, because women in Canada have okay, I don't want to get too drilled down the weeds too much. I'm just going to say it's much better to be a woman in Canada than it is to be a woman in the US. That's where I'm going to leave it.
No, I think that's a safe place to leave it for now.
It's not to say things are perfect for men and women in Canada. I'm not saying that, because there are a lot of women around. Got to be careful. I guess we drilled down on that one enough, huh?
I think so. I think we've run it into the ground, sir.
And for those of you that stuck around for that gem, you're welcome. He's Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, thank you very much.
Not a problem, Frank. We'll see you on Monday.
Yes, I realize. And we're taking Friday off. And thank you for watching, everybody. It was a lot of fun being here for you. Have a great day. And don't forget, when you see BS, call it out.